Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Quest Nutrition. Visit questnutrition.com. I'm your host, Dave Palumbo. And before we get to our interview of the night, I want to just mention something about Quest Nutrition, because Quest Nutrition sent me a great new bar. It's not even out yet. It's oatmeal chocolate chip. It is stupendous. I love it. It's moist. It tastes like an oatmeal cookie with chocolate chips in it. And I don't know how they keep outdoing themselves, but these bars are great. 20 grams of protein, all from whey isolate. Terrific. Guys, keep it up. Keep sending me the stuff. But tonight's episode, what we're here for, is going to feature a good friend to the show and a now 3-time 212 champion, all happening this year. The man that they might have written off, but who's back with a vengeance, is Mark Dugdale. Welcome.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it, man.
3 wins, and a lot of people thought it should have been 4 wins, to be honest with you. Are you as surprised as everyone else, or did you really think it was going to happen this year?
I'm as surprised as everybody else. I mean, to be honest, when you go 11, 12 years without a pro win, you start to wonder if that's ever going to happen.
And I got news for you. You got a lot of second place, out there. It's not like you were placing 10th and 12th. You had a lot of seconds. And, last year was kind of an off year. You only competed once. I really didn't see you around too much. And then this year, boom. I mean, at Toronto, I thought you looked terrific. I thought you were going to get the win. You got 4th place there, but then came back with Chicago, Arctic Pro, Chicago, and then Vancouver. Very, very convincing wins with probably some of the best conditioning I've seen on you since you won the USA Championships. What changed?
Going into this year, I was planning on just doing the Arctic Pro and Vancouver, at least initially. But I felt like I got in shape early, and so that's why I decided to jump into Toronto. And, everyone's asking me what's changed because your physique, people say my physique looks a lot different. And really, I would say the biggest thing is just this last off season, I really focused a lot more on my health. Maybe it's because I'm over 40 now, but I didn't let my weight go way up. All off season, I was honestly probably 218 to 220 versus being over 230. And I ended up weighing in Toronto and the Arctic Pro. I was like 202. Chicago and Vancouver, I was about 205. So obviously there wasn't a big weight swing from off season to pre-contest. I did a ton of hot yoga throughout the off season, partially because I got a bad lower back, but also just for the health benefits of it. And I'll be honest, going into these shows, I almost wondered to myself, focusing on my health, I might come in and find out I look really bad, and it's a sign that I need to hang it up. But lo and behold, it did me good, and I feel like I've, come into my own in terms of the condition and whatnot that I need to bring to the stage. I've kind of figured out the formula, I guess.
Do you think you got hung up on, I got to hang with these bigger guys on the stage, I got to come in at the 212 mark, and maybe gave up some of your strengths, which was always that terrific shape and conditioning? Because, to me, illusion-wise, you look bigger on stage this year than you were in the past, and I bet you were lighter this year than you have been.
Yeah, you're right, Dave. And I finally came to I just came to the point where I was like, you know what, either my genetics, my shape is going to take care of it, and I got to just get every bit of fat and water off of me so that you can see the physique, and go for that illusion, versus try and come in at 212. And so I really didn't care what the scale said. I just tried to get as lean as possible. And you're right, you stand me next to some of these guys, especially in street clothes, and they're probably looking at me like, how in the heck is this kid beating me? Or not kid, this old man beating me. But it just comes down to getting super lean and super dry for me, that my physique just tends to pop then.
Feel that going into this year's Olympia, that you can stack up against the Jose Raymonds, the Flex Lewises, and because the Olympia has always been a kind of like a sore spot for you. You seem to be able to hit the top 3 at most of your pro shows that you've competed at over the years, and then you come into the Olympia and you wind up out of that top 10 a lot. I know that probably has to be frustrating. Do you feel this year, with the formula you got down, that you could be competitive?
You know, I guess backing up a little bit in terms of my mindset, Dave, you know, I ended up signing to compete in all 4 of these shows. Once I committed to Toronto, within a week I had signed to do the Arctic, the Chicago, the Vancouver show. So even though I had won in Anchorage, that's why I still did those other ones, because I'd signed it and I wasn't going to back out on it. But the reason I signed up for 4 shows is, you know, based on my history, I don't win. So I was looking for points. And frankly, I was hoping to qualify by points, and I was going to skip the Olympia because I wanted to get an invite to the Arnold. And I felt like if I was at least qualified by points, that would hopefully be a deciding factor to get an invite to the Arnold. Well, then I win the Arctic, and I'm like, oh, now what am I going to do? Then I win Chicago, and then I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I'm doing the Olympia. And so, you know, I've competed with those guys and been competitive in the past. It was maybe more of the distant past, when it was a 202 competition when I got 4th, you know, in 2009. I mean, Flex Lewis to me is sort of like Phil Heath. I think he's untouchable. But the rest of them, you know, they're very good. Every guy that would be in the top 5 in the Olympia in the 212 are very good competitors. And I'm going to have to be at my absolute best, and one of them might have to be off a little bit. But if that happens, I at least feel like I've earned my right to the stage, and I feel like I've earned my right to at least get a look. And that's honestly, as a competitor, that's all I want. You know, I want one shot to get looked at, and if I get beat, I get beat.
Assessing how you looked and did at the shows, going back and looking at the pictures and the videos, what would you like to see change from now through the Olympia? You tell me what you think, and then I'm going to give you my opinion, even if you don't want to hear it.
For my physique, you mean?
Yeah, looking at you critically.
You know, realizing how close I am, I'm not sure how much I could really do. I've talked to the judges, you know, after most of these shows and said, hey, I'm looking at the Olympia. What do I do? And I don't know that anyone's actually given me anything specific outside of, you're impressive, bring that same package. So honestly, Dave, I would love to hear what you have to say.
You know, I looked at the videos and the pictures, and while I love your conditioning, I think you could be even harder. I think I've seen you harder. I think you could even be crazier looking on stage. And I think that really is what always sets you apart in my mind. When I saw you win the USA, you were so crazy hard that it didn't matter that guys weighed more than you. You just outclassed them with your shape, your posing, presentation, and that conditioning. And I think that's really your calling card.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that comment. You know, even from Toronto to Chicago, you know, some people were looking at me saying, wow, your physique has totally changed. You're so hard and dry. You know, I don't know that you can get any harder or any drier. And yet from Toronto to Anchorage to Chicago to Vancouver, everyone that I spoke to typically came and said, wow, I didn't think you could get harder, and you got harder. So I don't think I've hit the bottom of that well yet. And I'm certainly not going to go stuff myself because I know that's my calling card, and that's the strength I have to play to. So that's definitely what I'm going to do going into the Olympia.
Now, I got to ask you this question because a lot of people, hear Arctic Pro. First year they have a pro show in Alaska. What's it like to compete in Alaska? I can't even imagine. I mean, I know it's summer there now, so it's nice. I've never been there personally.
I mean, it was the scenery flying in is gorgeous. You better bring like a night mask or something because it never gets dark. But outside of that, I mean, I'm in a hotel with my feet up eating, rice cakes and stuff for a day, and then I'm on stage, so I didn't really get to see a whole lot of the countryside.
The daylight cycle can screw you up as far as sleep goes. What are the hours? When is sunset and sunrise?
Yeah, I mean, I literally took, I took a picture outside at like 11 p.m. and it felt like it was 5 o'clock in the evening. So
you have to take something to fall asleep. I mean, or was your body falling asleep anyway?
No, I did. I literally wear a night mask, and so I brought it, and I put on my night mask, and it's nighttime. I go to sleep.
I got to try to get out there one of these days. One of the few places I haven't been to, but I hear it's beautiful. Were you surprised that there was a decent lineup there actually because of that?
It didn't surprise me only because sometimes you get a new show pop up, like in Anchorage of all places, and then people think, oh, nobody's going to come to this one, so they all try to pile in. Yeah. So I wasn't super surprised. I was more surprised, honestly, that I was able to hold my condition and improve from one show to the next, and I felt good because I felt like there was a big difference in who sat on the judging panel, both from the Arctic Pro to the Chicago to the Vancouver. It was like a lot of different judges, and to be able to get dominant wins in the last three was pretty exciting.
Let me ask you this question. You're 41 now. You seem to be in the prime of your career still, which is a great thing because a lot of us are falling apart in our 40s. You're not, which is good. You got teenage kids now. Is the dynamics of how you train and get ready for shows different now with older kids? Do they even like the bodybuilding?
Yeah, they love it actually. I mean, it's weird now because they got boyfriends and whatnot that follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and so it's good that I still work out because I don't like boys because I know how I was. That's God's sense of humor. Is he knew the type of teenage boy I was, so he's like, okay, I'll give you 3 girls, see how you like it. But no, they actually all came to the show in Vancouver, so that was pretty exciting to have them there.
Vancouver's beautiful too. I've never been there either. I heard it's really, really nice in the summer. So that you're lucky. A lot of people wondering probably why you do in Alaska and Vancouver. You live in the Seattle Northwest area there, obviously, right? Am I correct? Seattle area, or is it Portland?
Able to just drive up to Vancouver. In fact,
yeah, that's perfect.
Which was nice.
That's excellent. Now, I know you want to thank a couple of your sponsors that you have. Obviously, it's important as bodybuilders to have sponsors because let's face it, it's a very expensive sport. The prize money you're winning is probably barely paying your expenses, to get ready for the show. Who would you like to thank?
Yeah, I mean, I would say first and foremost is Biotest, which is affiliated with tnation.com. Their product Plasma was literally what compelled me to go to them when I was with another supplement company, and because it's one thing to have a sponsorship and to be able to endorse products. Every bodybuilder would love to have that, but what's priceless is when you're able to do that with a product that you wholeheartedly believe in. I mean, Dave, when I was in my 20s, I trained like 4 days a week, Dorian Yates types, training style. And John Meadows has been programming my workouts for the last few years. And I trained 6 to 7 days a week and in my 40s, which there's no way in hell I could do that in my 20s. And I tell you, there's nothing new under the sun outside of I started using plasma and my ability to recover, you drink it pre and intra workout, has just been amazing. And so I think that's, if you can train and elicit hypertrophy through being in the gym and recover and go back quicker, if you go from four days a week to 7, that's just 3 more opportunities a week that you can grow and get the body to respond. Now, obviously, in my 40s, I got to be careful that I don't burn my central nervous system out, but my ability to recover has been great. And then also Elite FTS, Dave Tate, they're primarily a powerlifting and equipment supply company. He was gracious enough to bring me on as a bodybuilder amongst these absolute monsters that move tons of weight, and gave me a platform to post all my training logs and write articles for them on a monthly basis. So, between Biotest and Elite FTS, I'm able to pursue bodybuilding, which I wouldn't be able to without them. So I'm very grateful.
Now, Mark, you brought up a good point. I forgot about this almost, that you were training with Dorian Yates for a while back there, a number of years back. How did that arrangement come about, and how did you like training with Dorian?
Yeah, Dorian was the first professional bodybuilder I saw when I was like 17 years old, guest pose at the Emerald Cup in Seattle. And I ended up running into him after prejudging when I competed in the Arnold. I don't even know what year it was, maybe 06, 07, something like that. And we just got to talking, and I went over there and trained. It was really just for a week. Dorian didn't really train me for any shows, but I went over and just trained with him for a week and filmed The Week in the Dungeon, which was wildly popular back when DVDs were the in thing, and now it's like DVDs are like talking about cassette tapes. So I don't want to talk about my age too much there. But yeah, I attached to Dorian's training philosophy, and it served me well in my 20s. But honestly, I think science in some ways says that HIIT training is actually not the best for hypertrophy, and you also have to be careful because it can lead to injuries, which obviously was the case with Dorian, and I had my fair share of injuries as well before I started having John program my workouts. So
I think Dorian's workouts are great when you're trying to get big. Once you've gotten big, it doesn't take a hell of a lot to sustain that muscle, and I think that, like you said, as you get older, you have to train a little more smart. You can't take the risks you did when you were younger because your body's just not as resilient. Otherwise, you wind up tearing things. So I think that I always say training, when people ask me, what do you think of this training system and that training system, I say it's great, because I think that all training systems have merit, especially if you mix them up a lot. And I think that that's pretty much what you did. You kind of evolved as a bodybuilder, and your training evolved as well.
Yeah, you can't get stagnant and do the same thing over and over and over again, or you're going to end up getting injured. I got people that email me still like pissed off at me that like I've abandoned HIIT training, like I cheated on them and they were my girlfriend. And it's like, dude, I'm 41. Dorian was like tore a wreck at 37 and retired. Like, I'm plowing new dirt here. So cut me some slack, okay?
Yeah, because when I look at some of the weights I lifted when I was in my 20s and early 30s, and I'm like, I must have been out of my freaking mind. But
I wouldn't touch that stuff now.
But the weights put the muscle on me, and the muscle is stayed, and I think that that's important. So then my training changed as I got into my into my 30s. But it's important to let people know that there are different styles, and that you have to find what works best for your body. And I got to just say, the fact that you changed your mental outlook on life in terms of your training and your nutrition, looking more towards longevity and health, I think is smart, and it actually helped you long term. So I think when people are afraid to change what they're doing, usually that's the end of their career because they can't evolve. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, you got to get outside the box, and just because I've been doing this for 20 some years doesn't mean I have all the answers. You have to always be willing to continue to learn.
Well, Mark, congratulations on the 3 big pro wins and the automatic trip to the Olympia. No point qualifications for you, and you're going to go in there with a lot of momentum. If momentum means anything, that's for sure. And we're looking forward to seeing you hopefully crack that top 5 this year.
Thank you very much, Dave. I really appreciate it, and thanks for having me on the show.
All right, that will take us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Quest Nutrition. Visit questnutrition.com and check out their new oatmeal chocolate chip bar. It is delicious. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.